a walk on the woo-woo side with me. My name is Michelle Douglas and I am on a mission to help you to step into your power so that you can create the life you desire. Visit me at empoweredlifeprograms.com to learn more. Hello and welcome to Thriving Thursdays. And today we're going to be talking about energetic depletion and how it can impact on your love life. So let me explain what I mean by energetic depletion first. So when we are interacting with others in particular, or even with our environment, we are in some form of energetic exchange. And normally, when you're in this exchange, what you're sending out, you're receiving back in equal quantities. So this means that even though the energy may not be in alignment with you, it could be. Usually, it's not. But if it is, it's great. You're more likely to create abundance. But when you've got an equal exchange of energy, you're actually okay. You're doing okay. But the problem occurs when you are giving a whole lot more energy to something than what you are getting back. And a common theme I see is when you are, just say you're dating a guy who's not all in and you are constantly thinking about him, you want to be with him, and he's just a bit like meh, blasé about it all. Usually what you're going to find is that your constant focus on him, which becomes you sending energy to him, isn't being reciprocated, and you end up with this depletion. It can also happen in relationships where, like if you're already in a relationship, you might be the one doing everything. Like you're the one that cleans the house and cooks all the meals, and you have a full-time job as well, and he gets home, sits on the couch, and you basically wait on him. I used to have one a bit like that. And here again, you are being depleted because you are doing, and you're not having anything done for you because you're constantly giving energetically. Like we often give energetically to our children and don't receive it back, especially with a baby. However, if that baby smiles, you're receiving something back from that baby. So it starts to bring in the balance a little bit. But if you're constantly doing stuff for your kids that are old enough to look after themselves in some way, this is another depletion problem. So parents who become the helicopters and are doing everything, like they could be 15 years old and you're still making them lunch every day, stuff like that. So one of the things when I'm working with a client, if I see an energetic depletion that relates to their children, the first thing I do is ask them, well, what do you do for them that they could be doing for themselves? And usually they'll know exactly what's going on there. And I'll be able to say, right, how about you try to step back from that a little bit, even just try once a week and build it up to every day, get them used to looking after themselves. Because as parents, our job is to help them to learn to live without us, right? We're getting them to a point where they become independent of us. And if we're still doing things for them that they are quite capable to do themselves, what sort of a lesson are we teaching them? But let's get off the parent thing, because I have been known to do too much for my kids. Don't anymore. And, one of my daughters is, she did leave home. She came back, but she was always very independent. So I knew when she did move out, and she has been out a couple of times, she was able to look after herself. Like, I knew she wouldn't starve, and I knew that she knew how to take care of herself. So yeah, so let's get off the parent thing. Okay, so let's go back to relationships. When you are in a relationship where there's that unequal energy exchange, that's going to leave you feeling depleted. It can impact your health. It can impact your ability to manifest what you want. It's not good. And the bigger your deficit, the bigger the impact it will have on you personally. So it's really, 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 really important that you step out of that deficit as soon as you can. And when we work together, what I'm able to do is determine how big that deficit is, which life area it's in, or it's impacting, I should say, what the energy exchange is, so what energy is attached to it. So often I'll find obligation or withholding or restriction or something like some sort of negative energy associated with that. And then I'll work out who that exchange is with. Now, you may have an exchange with your dad that's impacting on your love life. Now, your dad may or may not even be alive, because and the reason for that, and so here, let me explain this one a bit. So you could be doing something because of something that happened where your dad was concerned when you were a kid. So just say, he might have been abusive or just not very hands-on, and you may have what we call overfunctioned to get his attention, to make him proud of you. And now with your relationships with men, you're repeating that same pattern. And I see that a lot. And what it's doing, it's depleting you. And that overfunctioning thing might be coming from an energy of rejection, because you don't want to be rejected by your dad when you're a kid. And now you're doing the same pattern, repeating that same pattern in your interactions with the guy. And ultimately what happens is he's actually turned off by it, because when you are over functioning, you're in your masculine. And if he's a masculine guy, he's going to be like, I'm in a relationship with another man here that just looks like a beautiful woman. Happens a lot. You'd be surprised. So the key to understanding this, obviously, if you're not on the Align with Love program, it's a little bit more difficult, but just watch your interactions with men, or even just the people around you in your family. See how you interact with them and get an idea of how much you're giving versus what you are receiving. For me, when I work with a client, I'm giving of my time and my energy when I'm working with them. And there's a lot of work I do before we actually even get on our calls. And that's quite a big energetic depletion. But I'm receiving, obviously, a payment, but I'm also receiving gratitude and thanks from my clients and that for me is massive. Like that brings up the bulk of what makes me, I guess, makes my heart sing, I guess, because there is nothing better than hearing from a client how much their life has improved when they've applied what they've learned through our sessions together. So this is really, really big. You might even have an energetic exchange at work. So at work, you're putting your all into your job, and the energetic exchange is the income you receive from it. Now, sometimes that's enough. For me, it wasn't. I was getting paid quite well, but it was still not, like, I was still depleted because it was just sucking the life out of me, so to speak. So I had to leave. But if the energetic exchange for you, like your job's okay, you're earning great money, you've got that exchange going on, you're giving them your time and effort, they're giving you income, and that often balances it out. Now, whether it's aligned energy or not will depend on how you are wired as a soul. And I have sort of touched on this before. And again, we cover this in the Align with Love program. But if you anything you're doing that's out of, say, obligation or any sort of negative, so to speak, energy attached to it, will often be what we call a discordant exchange. Now, if you're receiving equal energy back, an equal amount of energy back, it's fine. But if you're not, that's when you go into a deficit. So you've just got to keep your focus on, well, what you are doing and how you feel while you're in that interaction, because that will give you a picture about whether or not you're exchanging in a positive way. Now, the best way to create abundance and manifest what you want and good health and everything else in your life is to stay as much as possible in energy exchanges that align with you at soul level. So if you understand how you are wired, we would have already had this conversation, and you will know that you cannot be in certain situations long term without being depleted. You will also know where you will thrive, what sort of situations you thrive in, and you will also understand what sort of things you can do in your life that align with you, and therefore draw in more of the good stuff that energizes you, basically, because it's an unlimited source. But unfortunately, through our actions and interactions, we're not drawing it in. We're not making the most of what we've got access to. So I'll leave you with that. I know that's probably leaving you with a lot more questions than answers, but it's my hope that you just start to become more aware of those energetic interactions, and maybe start to think about whether you should even stay in them if you're feeling depleted during or after them. And that might be a good start for you. See you tomorrow.